Edison and 1,000 failures. Failure is only a stepping stone to success. Have you ever failed once and felt like giving up? Now imagine failing not once, not 10 times, but more than 1,000 times. Most of us would walk away. Most of us would surrender. But Thomas Edison, the man who gave the world the light bulb, did not. And behind that invention lies not just science, but a philosophy of life. In the late 1800s, the world was hungry for light. Candles burned out quickly. Gas lamps were dangerous. People dreamed of a safe, reliable light that could brighten the night. Edison believed it was possible. But turning belief into reality was brutal. He and his team tested over 6,000 different materials for the filament: cotton, wood, hair, even plant fibers from exotic countries. Every attempt ended in failure. Investors mocked him. Scientists doubted him. Newspapers laughed at him, calling him a lunatic wasting money. Yet Edison worked relentlessly, sometimes sleeping only 4 hours a night, often on the lab floor. When asked why he kept going after so many failures, he smiled and said, "I have not failed. I've just found 1,000 ways that won't work." That attitude, that every failure was progress, carried him forward. Finally, after thousands of trials, a carbonized bamboo filament lasted more than 1,200 hours. The light bulb was born, and humanity stepped into a new age. The light bulb was more than an invention. It was a symbol. A reminder that failure is not the opposite of success. It is a part of it. Each failure removed one wrong path, bringing Edison closer to the right one. He did not see obstacles, he saw steps. And that mindset is what separates dreamers from achievers. Edison proved that greatness is not born from talent alone, but from relentless resilience. As parents, we often rush to protect our children from mistakes. We fix things for them. We scold them when they get it wrong. But mistakes are not dangers, they are training. If Edison had been punished for every failed attempt as a child, would he have dared to try 1,000 times as an adult? Children need space to fall, to get up, and to try again. So when your child makes a mistake, don't say, "You failed." Instead say, "You are learning, you are one step closer." Because resilience cannot be taught in words. It is built through experience, just as Edison built his light, one failure at a time. Remember, Edison didn't succeed the first time. The light we see today is the sum of thousands of failures. And so it is with our children. Mistakes do not make them weak. Mistakes make them strong, wise, and ready to shine. Every failure is not a dead end. It is a step forward. And when we allow our children to take those steps, we give them the courage to light up their own world. Edison's story shows us that failure is not the end, but a step toward success. But what happens if failure doesn't come just once, or even 1,000 times in a laboratory, but again and again throughout an entire lifetime?
That is the story of Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln. Never give up. Fall often, rise with perseverance. What happens when life doesn't knock you down just once, but again and again for years, even decades? One loss is painful, 2 losses are discouraging. But what if defeat becomes the rhythm of your life? Most people break. Most hearts surrender. Yet there was a man who turned defeat into a companion, and persistence into his armor. Every time he fell, he stood taller. Every time he lost, he grew stronger. His story is not one of comfort, but of courage. Not one of easy success, but of relentless struggle. And it is because of that struggle that the world remembers his name, Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln was born in poverty. He had little formal education. When he entered politics, he lost his first election. He tried again and lost. He started businesses and they failed. He faced personal tragedies, the death of loved ones, deep depression. In fact, Lincoln lost in more than 8 major elections before finally being elected president in 1860. Yet he never gave up. What does Lincoln's life teach us? First, persistence is not blind stubbornness. It is the quiet faith that tomorrow can be different from today. It is the choice to rise again when the ground beneath you still trembles. Second, failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is the soil where persistence takes root. Every no the world gave Lincoln was not a tombstone. It was a stepping stone. Third, greatness is rarely instant. The world often crowns those who keep walking long after others have stopped. Lincoln's persistence shows us that destiny is not written by victories alone. He teaches us that when life breaks you, it is not the breaking that defines you. It is the rising. As parents, our hearts ache when our children fall. We want to rush in, to protect, to fix, to carry their burdens for them. But Lincoln's story reminds us, if we shield them from every pain, we also shield them from their own growth. A child who never tastes defeat may grow fragile. A child who never hears no may crumble at the first rejection. But a child who learns to stand after falling learns something greater than success. They learn strength. So when your child loses a game, don't say, "You failed." Say, "This is practice. This is how champions are made." When they stumble on a math problem, don't solve it for them. Sit with them and say, "Try again." Every mistake brings you closer to the answer. When they are rejected or left out, don't just wipe away the tears. Tell them, "This pain will pass, but the resilience you build will stay with you forever." Because the world does not promise ease, it promises struggle. And the best gift we can give our children is not protection from struggle, but the power to persist through it. Abraham Lincoln's life was a battlefield of defeats. But history does not honor his wounds. It honors the courage that carried him through them. And so with our children, we cannot promise them a life without storms, but we can give them the anchor of persistence. For persistence is the bridge from brokenness to greatness. And every time our children rise again, they walk closer to their own destiny. Lincoln's story teaches us the power of persistence, to keep standing after every defeat. But sometimes, life doesn't just give us failure. It gives us pain, deep, personal pain that feels unbearable.
How do we turn that pain into something meaningful?
Pearl. Pain becomes beauty. Pain can turn into beauty. We often admire beauty as if it simply appeared, a rose unfolding its petals, a pearl glowing in the palm of a hand, a diamond shining in the light. But beauty is never born without struggle. Behind every glow, there is a story. Take the pearl, for example. It is one of the most treasured gems in the world. We see its smooth surface, its perfect roundness, its gentle shine. But few of us stop to ask, where did this beauty come from? The truth is almost paradoxical. The pearl is born out of irritation, out of wounding, out of pain. And that makes its beauty even more powerful, because it is beauty carved from suffering. When a tiny grain of sand slips inside an oyster's shell, it wounds the soft flesh. The oyster cannot push it out. The pain is constant, sharp, and uninvited. But the oyster does not give up. Instead, it begins to release layers of nacre, mother of pearl, covering the wound again and again. Over time, what was once a source of pain becomes transformed. The grain of sand becomes a pearl. The world sees only the pearl's beauty, its shine, its perfection. But hidden inside that beauty is a story of suffering, patience, and transformation. The pearl carries a lesson far beyond the ocean. It tells us that pain itself can be transformed. When life wounds us, we often ask, "Why me?" We try to push the pain away, to numb it, to hide it. But the oyster shows us another way. Do not deny the wound. Wrap it, work with it, transform it. This is the essence of resilience. Resilience is not about never being hurt. It is about allowing hurt to become the raw material of wisdom. A broken heart can become compassion. A failure can become humility. A scar can become strength. The pearl is beautiful not because the oyster avoided suffering,
but because it embraced it, and through patience, turned it into treasure. And so with us, our deepest wounds can become the birthplace of our greatest gifts. As parents, our instinct is to shield our children from pain. We want to catch them before they fall, silence every insult, erase every disappointment. But what if in doing so, we rob them of their pearls? When your child fails a test, don't rush to say, "It doesn't matter." Instead, sit with them and ask, "What did this teach you? What layer can you build from this?" When your child feels hurt by rejection, don't just tell them, "Forget it." Tell them, "This pain stings, but it can make you stronger. It can teach you empathy, perseverance, courage." When your child faces struggles, don't only remove the struggle. Teach them how to wrap it, how to transform it, how to keep going. Because the goal is not to raise children who never bleed. The goal is to raise children who know how to turn their wounds into wisdom, who know how to turn grains of suffering into pearls of character. The pearl shines not because it was spared from pain, but because pain was patiently transformed into beauty. So too with our children. We cannot take away every wound, nor should we, because wounds can become wisdom, pain can become strength, and hardship can become hope. Remember this, within every grain of suffering lies the possibility of a pearl. Our role as parents is not to remove the sand, but to help our children discover the pearl within.
The oyster shows us how pain can be transformed into beauty. But what about uncertainty? What about the times when we don't know where our choices will lead? Can we still trust the journey? Let's move on to the story of Steve Jobs and the dots of life.
Steve Jobs, connecting the dots. You can only connect the dots looking back. Life often feels like a collection of scattered dots, random moments, failures, detours, choices that seem meaningless at the time. But what if every dot, every twist, every pain has a purpose? Steve Jobs once said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward." And his story shows us how even the most uncertain paths can lead to extraordinary destinations. When Jobs dropped out of college, many thought he had ruined his future. But by leaving, he had the freedom to explore classes he was curious about. One of those was a calligraphy class. At the time, it seemed useless. But years later, when Jobs created the Macintosh computer, that knowledge gave Apple its beautiful typography. He said in his famous Stanford speech, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward." The dots remind us of a profound truth. Life rarely gives clarity in advance. We demand answers now, but meaning often arrives later. Like stars that only form constellations when seen from afar, Jobs teaches us that failure is not wasted, it is a dot. Pain is not pointless, it is a dot. Detours are not delays, they are dots. Each dot, alone, feels confusing or cruel. But when time passes, they align, and suddenly what once felt random becomes destiny. This is why resilience matters. Resilience is walking through dots that make no sense yet, trusting that one day they will connect. Without trust, we stop walking. With trust, we live long enough to see the picture emerge. As parents, our instinct is to give our children a straight road, free of confusion. But the truth is, life is never a straight line. It is a constellation of dots. When your child complains, "Why do I have to learn this?" Tell them, not every dot makes sense today, but one day it will connect to something greater. When your child feels lost, remind them, you don't need to see the whole map. Just take the next step. The dots will appear as you walk. When your child fails or feels rejected, sit beside them and whisper, "This dot may hurt, but it is not wasted. Trust, it will connect." Our role is not to erase the dots, or to draw the picture for them. Our role is to give them the courage to keep walking, the patience to trust the unseen, and the faith that their life is forming a masterpiece. Steve Jobs' life shows us, clarity is a gift of hindsight. In the moment, dots look random, but in time, they form destiny. So too with our children. They may not see meaning in every class, every failure, every heartbreak. But if we teach them to keep walking, one day they will look back and see that nothing was wasted. Every dot has its place, every dot has its purpose. Our task is not to prevent the dots, but to give them faith in the picture being drawn.
Jobs reminded us to trust the process, even when the path is unclear. But trust alone is not enough. Growth requires patience. Patience that can last for years before results appear. And that is also the lesson from the story of the bamboo, the power of patience.
Bamboo, the power of patience. Breakthroughs begin with patience. In a world of instant results and quick rewards, patience feels like weakness. We want success today, progress now, answers immediately. But nature whispers a different truth. Some of its greatest miracles are hidden beneath the surface, invisible for years, preparing for a moment of unstoppable growth. One of the clearest teachers of this truth is the bamboo tree. Its story is not about speed, but about roots. Not about quick success, but about quiet preparation. When you plant a bamboo seed, nothing seems to happen in the first year. Not in the second year. Not even in the third or fourth. For almost 5 years, the seed hides underground, silently growing its roots. And then, in just a few weeks, the bamboo shoots up to more than 30 meters tall. Years of waiting for a sudden, incredible rise. The bamboo teaches us that real growth is often invisible. For the first 5 years, nothing seems to happen. No shoots, no leaves, no visible progress. But underground, the roots are spreading, deepening, strengthening, preparing for a future unseen. And then, in the 5th year, in just a few weeks, the bamboo shoots up more than 80 feet. The world calls it sudden success. But it was never sudden. It was 5 years of patience, hidden beneath the soil. This is life's truth. The unseen years matter most. The quiet seasons of waiting, the days when nothing seems to change, are the very times when roots are being formed. Greatness is not built in the spotlight, it is built underground. But children are like bamboo. Their roots take time. Their growth may not always be visible. Yet what looks like nothing is often the most important part of their becoming. When your child struggles to read, do not despair. Each slow attempt is a root growing. When your child tries and fails, do not lose hope. Each failure is a root strengthening. When your child seems stuck, remind yourself, growth is happening underground, where your eyes cannot see. Patience is not passive. Patience is active trust. And when we give our children patience, we give them the freedom to grow strong, deep, and uncheckable. The bamboo's rise is breathtaking, but its roots are the real miracle. What the world calls sudden success is only visible proof of invisible patience. So it is with our children. The seasons of waiting are not wasted. The quiet years are not empty. The roots are growing. And when the time comes, they will rise with strength no storm can shake. Remember, success may be visible in a moment, but it is planted in years of patience. Our calling as parents is not just to wait for the harvest, but to trust the roots.
From Edison's 1,000 failures to Lincoln's endless persistence. From the oyster's pain that became a pearl to Steve Jobs' dots that connected into innovation. And finally, the bamboo tree that rose after years of patience. All these stories teach us one truth. Failure, pain, uncertainty, and waiting are not obstacles. They are the very steps of growth. As parents, let us guide our children not by removing every hardship, but by teaching them to transform it. Because within every failure lies a lesson. Within every wound lies strength. And within every waiting season lies a future ready to bloom. Thank you for listening until the end of the video. If you found it helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to spread the inspiration to more people. Your support is my greatest motivation to keep creating more valuable stories and lessons. See you again in the next videos.